All right, welcome back to the deep dive. Today we're going to be taking a deep dive into Stoicism.
Oh, Stoicism. Love it.
Yeah, it's a fascinating philosophy, and those ancient Greeks really knew what they were doing. I
Oh,
mean, this idea of inner resilience, living well, especially in our modern world, which can feel pretty chaotic at
it's
times.
true. Like, how timely is this stuff, right?
Right, right, exactly. And we have these incredible thinkers like Epictetus, Marcus Aurelius,
Yeah,
and
Marcus Aurelius loved meditations.
yes, meditations.
Yeah.
So insightful. So, what we really want to do today is sort of unpack some of those core tenets of Stoicism. Like what's the essence of this philosophy?
Yeah.
And especially this thing about daily habits, right? So, like, how can we cultivate virtue and resilience, in our everyday lives? And how does this ancient wisdom connect to modern life?
Right.
Like, we're all thinking about things like productivity,
Yes.
routines, mindfulness.
Big topics for sure.
Huge topics, yeah. So I think to start off, it might be helpful to kind of establish like what is at the core of Stoicism.
Yeah, the foundation.
The foundation, exactly.
So I think what's really key to understand right off the bat is that, Stoicism puts virtue front and center.
Okay.
Things like wisdom, justice, courage, and temperance.
Those are the big ones.
Those are the big ones. Those are the four cardinal virtues in Stoicism. They're the sole true good.
The sole true good. So that's like the ultimate goal.
It is. It is. It's the pathway to what they call eudaimonia. It's often translated as flourishing or living well.
I love that. Flourishing. So
Yeah.
it's not just about, being happy all the time, but it's like deeper.
Absolutely. It's about living a life of purpose and meaning.
Right, right. And I think one of the things that really stuck with me when I was first learning about Stoicism was this idea of the dichotomy of control.
Oh, that's a huge one.
Right.
That's like Stoicism 101.
Yeah. So how would you explain that?
Okay, so it's this idea that there are things you can control and things you can't.
Right. So simple, but so powerful.
It sounds simple, but it's so profound. So the Stoics are saying focus your energy on what you can influence.
Your thoughts, your actions.
Exactly. Your judgments, your responses to situations.
Hmm.
But the stuff you can't control, like other people's opinions, external events, the weather even,
Yeah.
accept it.
Accept it, let it go.
Don't waste your energy on it. And that's incredibly freeing because it allows you to manage your emotions.
And to direct your efforts effectively.
Right. So much of our stress comes from trying to control things that are ultimately outside our control.
Makes sense. And there's also this idea of living in accordance with nature.
Ah, yes, living in accordance with
The
nature.
Stoics talk about logos.
Logos.
Logos, right. So what is that all about?
So logos, you can think of it as the underlying rational order of the universe. The Stoics believe that there's this universal reason that governs everything.
Mm-hmm.
And when we align ourselves with that reason, we find harmony,
Harmony.
inner peace.
I love it.
It's like tapping into the flow of the universe.
Right, right. So it's not just about controlling what's within us. It's also about understanding this sort of bigger picture.
That's right. And there's another concept that goes along with this called adiaphora,
Okay, a diaphora.
which basically means indifference.
Indifference.
And these are all the external things, the stuff outside our control.
Like possessions, fame, even health to a certain extent.
Exactly. And the Stoics say these things are neither good nor bad in themselves.
It's how we perceive them, right?
Exactly. It's our judgments about them that cause us suffering.
So by recognizing that these things are ultimately indifferent, we can kind of detach from them a little bit.
You got it. You,
Yeah.
you become more resilient because you're not putting so much stock in things you can't control.
Makes sense. Makes sense. But I think it's important to emphasize here that Stoicism isn't just about understanding these ideas.
Right. It's not just a philosophy you read about in a book.
Exactly. It's about putting them into practice.
It's about living it.
Living it, yeah. And the Stoics really emphasize the power of habit.
Oh, yeah. Habits are everything.
They are everything. So it's this idea that, it's not just about what you believe, it's about how you consistently act. It's about training yourself through repeated virtuous actions.
It's about shaping your character over time. And one of the best examples of this is Marcus Aurelius and his journaling practice.
Meditations.
Yes. When you really dive into meditations, it's clear this wasn't just him writing diary entries.
Right.
It was a deliberate practice of self-examination.
Almost like a moral inventory.
Exactly. He would journal in the morning to set his intentions for the day, prepare himself for the challenges ahead.
Yeah.
Then midday, he'd check in, see how he was doing, track his progress. And in the evening, he'd review his actions.
A full day of reflection.
A full day. And this habit was all about aligning himself with those core Stoic values.
I see. So it's about, being proactive. It's about consciously shaping your day, your thoughts, your actions to be in line with what you believe.
Yes. And this is something you can do too.
Mm.
Think about how you could use journaling or reflection to bring more intentionality into your own day.
Right, right. And then you have Seneca, another Stoic heavyweight, and he had his own daily habit, the evening review.
Oh, the evening review. He
Yeah.
was big on self-accountability.
Yeah. He talked about it as like pleading his case with himself.
Right. Like he was in a court of law, but the court was his own mind.
I love that image. So he would basically sit down and rigorously review his actions and words from the entire day.
No hiding, no sugarcoating.
Really going deep. And he had specific questions he would ask himself.
Like, where did I improve today? What
Mhm.
faults did I resist? Where can I do better tomorrow?
Really focusing on growth, not just beating himself up.
Exactly. It was about progress, not perfection. And I think knowing he was going to do this review probably made him more mindful throughout the day.
Right, like, oh, gotta be on my best behavior. Seneca's gonna be judging me later.
Exactly. And Seneca also made it a habit to go for walks.
Oh, yeah, like for exercise or...
More for mental nourishment.
Yeah.
He saw it as a time for thinking things through, solving problems.
Interesting. So both Aurelius and Seneca, they're really showing us that consistency, these daily habits, they're fundamental to living a virtuous life.
They're the foundation of the Stoic path.
I see, I see. Now, how do all these ancient ideas, how do they connect to our modern lives? Like, let's talk about productivity. We're all obsessed with productivity these days.
Everyone wants that life hack, the secret to getting more done.
Right, right. So is there a Stoic approach to productivity?
There is. And it's actually incredibly relevant. Remember the dichotomy of control.
Well, yeah, focus on what you can control.
Exactly.
Mhm.
So the Stoic approach to productivity is all about focusing on your inputs, meaning your effort, your process,
Okay.
not the outcome. Because the outcome is often outside our control.
Right, so many things can influence the results.
But what you can control is how much effort you put in, how diligently you work, how strategically you approach a task.
So it's about focusing on the process, doing the best you can, and then letting go of the attachment to the results.
Exactly. And that takes a lot of pressure off. It allows you to focus on what you can actually influence.
Yeah.
And this aligns perfectly with modern productivity methods.
Oh, interesting. How so?
Well, think about it. A lot of productivity advice is about prioritizing your tasks mindfully.
Right. Doing the most important things first.
Exactly. It's about breaking down large tasks into smaller, more manageable chunks. It's about embracing challenges as learning opportunities.
Instead of getting overwhelmed by them.
Right. And the Stoics were all about that too.
Yeah.
They saw obstacles as a chance to practice virtue.
And this idea of time management, is that a Stoic thing too?
Oh, absolutely. The Stoics understood the value of time.
They saw it as a precious resource.
Yes. Seneca wrote a whole letter about it, on the shortness of life. He emphasizes that time is finite.
We don't get an unlimited supply.
So we need to be intentional about how we use it
Prioritize what really matters.
and not waste it on things that don't.
Makes sense. So we've got productivity. What about routines? I feel like everyone's talking about their morning routine these days.
Yeah, routines are hot right now.
Right. And is there a connection between Stoicism and routines?
Well, absolutely. I mean, think about Marcus Aurelius and his morning journaling practice. That was a deliberate routine. It was a way to prepare himself for the day ahead.
Setting his intentions, getting in the right mindset.
Exactly. And Seneca's evening review, that was a routine too. A way to reflect on the day, course correct, and prepare for the next day.
So the Stoics were already on top of the morning routine, evening routine game.
They were pioneers.
Hmm.
And I think these routines are so valuable, especially in our fast-paced, hyper-connected world.
Right. It's like they provide structure, a framework for cultivating virtue.
Yes. They help us manage our focus, our energy, our time.
And they can be really grounding, in
Right.
the midst of all the chaos.
Exactly. Routines can be anchors of stability.
Okay, so we've talked about productivity, routines. What about mindfulness? That's another buzzword these days.
Mindfulness is everywhere.
It is, and I feel like there's a connection to Stoicism there, too.
Oh, definitely. The Stoics were all about mindfulness. They even had a word for it. Prosoche.
Okay.
It means attention, vigilance, being fully present.
Sounds a lot like our modern definition of mindfulness.
It does, right. It's about paying attention to your thoughts, your emotions, your sensations, without judgment.
Just observing them.
Exactly. And the Stoics believed that this practice was crucial for living a virtuous life.
So it's not just about being mindful for the sake of being mindful.
Right. It's about being mindful so you can make better choices.
So you can respond to situations with wisdom and reason.
And not be ruled by your emotions.
So Stoicism kind of provides a framework for mindfulness.
It gives it a deeper purpose. And that's what's so fascinating about it. It's not just a technique, it's a way of life.
I see, I see. And are there any other modern practices that connect back to Stoicism?
Oh, tons. Think about gratitude lists.
Gratitude lists.
Yeah, so popular now.
Right, everyone's writing down what they're grateful for.
Exactly. And that aligns perfectly with the Stoic emphasis on appreciating what you have.
On cultivating contentment.
Yes. It's about shifting your focus from what you lack to what you have.
From scarcity to abundance.
And that's so powerful. Marcus Aurelius even had his own gratitude list in Meditations.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he wrote about all the people he was grateful for, all the good things in his life.
I love that. And what about meditation? Is that Stoic?
Well, formal meditation practices as we know them today weren't really a thing in ancient Greece.
Okay.
But the Stoics definitely engaged in practices that were similar.
Like what?
Well, remember Marcus Aurelius's morning reflections?
Oh, yeah, his journaling.
Exactly. That was a form of meditation.
Right.
It was a time to quiet his mind, connect with his inner self, and set his intentions for the day.
So it was about preparing himself mentally and emotionally for the day ahead.
Right. And that's very much in line with the spirit of modern meditation.
Makes sense. And what about digital detoxes? I feel like those are becoming more and more popular.
Yeah, as people become more aware of the downsides of constant connectivity.
Right. So is there a Stoic take on digital detoxes?
There is. It goes back to the Stoic emphasis on managing your inputs.
So it's about being selective about what you allow into your mind.
Exactly. The Stoics were very aware of the power of external influences. They believed in guarding your time and attention.
Not letting yourself be pulled in a million different directions.
Right, and I think digital detoxes are a great way to do that. They allow you to disconnect from the constant noise and distraction.
To reconnect with yourself, with what truly matters.
And that's very much in line with the Stoic pursuit of virtue and inner peace.
I see, I see. So all these practices, they're not just trendy self-help stuff.
Right, they have deep philosophical roots.
They're connected to this ancient wisdom that's been guiding people for centuries.
And that's what makes them so powerful.
It's not just about doing the things, it's about understanding the why behind them.
Exactly. The why gives them meaning. It gives them staying power.
Okay, so we've talked about a lot of different practices, but ultimately, how do these Stoic habits, how do they make us stronger?
That's the big question, right? What's the benefit?
Exactly. Like, how do they actually improve our lives?
Well, for one, they improve our focus.
Okay.
Think about it. All these practices, journaling, evening review, mindfulness, they're all training your mind to be present.
To resist distractions.
Exactly. They're building your mental discipline.
So you're better able to concentrate on the task at hand.
Right. You're not so easily pulled away by every notification, every thought that pops into your head.
And you're better able to prioritize what's truly important.
Yes. You're more intentional about how you spend your time and energy.
Makes sense. What else?
Well, they also enhance our self-control.
Okay, self-control.
Yeah, think about the Stoic virtue of temperance.
Moderation in all things.
Exactly. Stoicism teaches us to manage our desires, our emotions, our impulses.
Not to be ruled by them.
Right. And these habits help us do that. They help us develop the inner strength to resist temptation.
To make thoughtful choices, even when it's difficult.
Exactly. And to set healthy boundaries for ourselves.
With our time, our energy, our relationships.
All of it.
So it's about being more in control of yourself, your life.
Yes. It's about becoming the master of your own domain, so to speak.
I like that. And finally, do these habits help us overcome procrastination? Because I think that's something we all struggle with.
Oh, procrastination, the universal enemy.
Right. It's like this insidious force that keeps us from doing what we know we should be doing.
But Stoicism offers a powerful antidote to procrastination.
Okay, how so?
Well, remember, Stoicism is all about virtuous action.
Doing the right thing even when it's hard.
Exactly. And it emphasizes focusing on the present moment.
Not getting caught up in worries about the future or regrets about the past.
Right. And these principles can be incredibly helpful when it comes to procrastination.
How so?
Well, instead of getting overwhelmed by a task and putting it off, you break it down into smaller, more manageable steps.
Right, like we talked about with productivity.
Exactly. And you focus on the first step, just that one step. You set a clear intention to do it, and you do it.
You don't let yourself get bogged down in all the what-ifs and the maybes.
Exactly. You just take action, and that action creates momentum.
And that momentum helps you overcome the inertia of procrastination.
Exactly. It gets you moving.
And once you're moving, it's easier to keep moving.
It is. And that's the beauty of Stoicism. It's not just about thinking noble thoughts, it's about taking concrete steps.
It's about building habits that empower you to live a better life.
A life of virtue, resilience, and purpose.
It's really powerful to remember the context in which Stoicism emerged.
Oh yeah, it wasn't all sunshine and roses back then.
Definitely not. It was a time of great turmoil, uncertainty, upheaval.
Empires were crumbling, wars were raging, people were facing all sorts of challenges.
And yet, amidst all that chaos, these Stoic thinkers, they found a way to find stability, meaning, and purpose.
They did. And they did it through these principles of self-control, reason, and virtue.
Figures like Epictetus, Seneca, Marcus Aurelius, they weren't just philosophers, they were living examples of how to navigate difficult times with grace and resilience.
They walked the walk.
They did. And they showed us that no matter what external circumstances we face, we always have control over our own minds, our own actions.
And that's a truly empowering message.
It is. So for our listeners who are inspired by all this, is there like one concrete thing they could try, like a small step towards incorporating some Stoicism to their lives?
Absolutely. I think a great place to start is with Seneca's evening review.
Okay, the evening review.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be a big elaborate thing. Just take 5 minutes at the end of your day to reflect.
To sit down with yourself and ask those key questions.
Exactly. Like, what went well today?
What could I have done better?
What bad habit did I successfully resist?
What duty did I fulfill or neglect?
It's a simple practice, but it can be incredibly powerful.
Right, because it increases your self-awareness.
It helps you see your patterns.
It holds you accountable.
And it encourages continuous improvement.
Plus, it can even help you sleep better.
Oh yeah, by processing your day before you go to bed.
So it's like a win-win all around.
Exactly. And who knows, it might even spark a deeper interest in exploring Stoicism further.
Right, because there's so much to learn from this ancient philosophy.
It's a treasure trove of wisdom.
Absolutely. So as we wrap up our deep dive into Stoicism, I'd like to leave our listeners with a final thought.
Okay, shoot.
Consider this. How might consistently focusing on your controllable actions, regardless of the circumstances, how might that fundamentally shift your experience of daily life and even your progress toward your long-term goals?
It's a question worth pondering.
It is. And with that, we'll leave you to your reflections. Thanks for joining us on the Deep Dive. See you next time.